What's up, guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Now, on this channel, we have an array of stuff. Now, I'm not sure what it's going to be. It could be the greatest channel to ever exist on planet Earth, or it might not. It might be your average Joe Blow YouTube channel. Who knows? But thanks for tuning in. And today, I wanted to speak about love. Love, love, love. What is love? How do you find love for yourself? Well, I can only speak from my own experience around self-love. And I can tell you from personal, first-hand experience, being on this earth, as a guy named Scott, that it's tough in the beginning, particularly if you grew up with parents who simply weren't equipped with the tools to really educate you in the main priority in your life, which is learning to love and nurture yourself. That's the biggest challenge. That is the one. Out of all of them, that is the one. Forget about love thy neighbor. Forget about that. If you can't love yourself, you will despise your neighbor. Oh yes, you will not like him at all because you, unfortunately, in that moment, do not love yourself. However, there is hope. There is people like me who have found the way to love themselves a little bit more and can maybe give you a few pointers of how to love yourself. Now, is this a wake up in the morning and it's done kind of job, a quick fix? No, of course. It's a journey. You can always fall more and more in love with yourself. And that is the beautiful thing about evolution. And it being a never-ending, unfinished project called you. It really is a wonderful thing. But to get there, you're going to have to develop some self-awareness and have some honest moments with yourself to realize what you're up to and maybe what you quote-unquote shouldn't be doing and what you should be doing. Now, what I mean by shouldn't be doing is things like, let's use a classic one. Let's go with people pleasing. Now, there are many people pleasers out there, and I know because I used to be one of them. I used to add to your throngs of, or your hordes of people pleasing ways and developed a bad habit that I had to let go of. And it was a habit. And a habit is a choice once you realize that you have it. So, booyah. Look at that little wisdom nugget. And that wasn't me, by the way. I stole that. Who did I steal that from? A guy called Bashar. If you don't know who Bashar is, look him up. He's an alien. An alien gave me that tidbit of wisdom. So, habits are habits until you make them conscious, and then they're a choice. So, the power is in your hand, my friend. So the question is, are you people pleasing? And why are you doing it? Well, I can tell you why I did it. I did it because I grew up with a controlling father, who I love, by the way. But he was controlling, but because he was controlled in his house by my grandfather and blah, blah, blah. And who knows, it goes back to friggin' Adam and Eve. Adam started controlling Eve in the kitchen. Who knows? And who really cares? No one really cares. So I grew up with an authoritative figure outside of me, which was then cushioned, compounded by school, by teachers telling me I can't do this, can't do that, putting all their limitations on me because they were cynical, they're kind of given up in many ways, and they didn't really know who they are. I mean, they were trying their best. Everyone is always trying their best, I believe, but they were lost. But to me, they were gods at the time because I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't have the tools or the self-awareness. No one told me around me in the neighborhood how to love myself. Not really. So I was there all alone. And so I would change my behavior in order to get love. And by the way, we all alter our behavior to a certain extent. We all have insecurities to some extent that will probably never end till the day you die. However, it can be lessened and lessened over time. So don't think I'm this perfect person. By all means, if you wish to believe that, I'll happily take it on as a beam of perfection, but I'm not. I'm just an ordinary, amazing, extraordinary, exquisite human being like yourself. So let's get that record straight. So anyway, I grew up with controlling teachers, controlling parents, and being in a system I didn't really enjoy, a system I fought. And so in order to try and appease them, I would act in a certain way to try and get their attention and try and get their love. Look what I did. Aren't I great? And, I'd get a few thumbs up from people here and there. Well done, clap on the back. But it never really satisfied me because deep down, I was pissed off. I was angry. And anger is a tool, a powerful tool that I instruct you to use, particularly if you're suppressing it. Men and women, hear me please. Anger is something not to be afraid of in yourself. It's to be recognized, and you're allowed to be pissed off from time to time. And I've come to the point where it can actually be quite fun. You can have such a self-awareness and self-love within you that when anger comes up or a pattern comes up, you can actually be humored by your own anger, right? By your own expectations being broken. And so many years I had suppressed anger because I kept trying to get these motherfuckers to like me. And however much I modified my behavior, I never managed to fill that hole or fulfill their needs to get love. Because again, these people, for the most part, had challenges loving themselves. And you can't get external love to fulfill your heart. You must find it within. It comes from the very center of you. Self-love is key. So what happened? Grew up angry as a teenager. Took drugs. Was a little lost. We can get into that maybe in another episode, another podcast. And it wasn't until I was maybe 24, 25 when I started to do business where I realized that I have opinions. Certain things tick me off because I began to realize that some people aren't that straight. Some people lack integrity in themselves and act out of it quite a bit of the time. Some people are lost puppies here. That's how it is. I mean, look around. We have jails. We have executions. We have bombs. There's a part of us that is messed up. It just is. So, I was angry and it had been pent up for many years. So what did I do? I started to express that anger. I started to regurgitate it up and draw up memories from the past towards people in my memory banks of people that had pissed me off, particularly my father. And also maybe my mother for not standing up for me. Or maybe school teachers, or maybe bullies, because I used to be scared of, physical conflict and being dominated and all those things. So I was pissed off. And that's the thing. Anger is way better, generally, than, let's say, being absolutely apathetic and depressed. Anger is like someone... Here's how to use anger constructively. And again, it's just a stepping stone. You can go beyond it. This is how to use it constructively. Imagine a bully at school or in your head. They're kind of in your head in a way, but let's just say they're there physically at school and they're like, fuck you, you're shit, you're trash, just putting you down, belittling you, making you feel bad about yourself. Anger and even arrogance combined with anger is like, no, fuck you, you're the twat. Fuck you, I hate you, fuck you. It's pushing the energy back on. It's like using some motherfucking Malfoy, Slytherin, Voldemort shit right here. Some Sith Star Wars stuff. You know, you get psychically attacked and you know how to put it back. That's kind of using anger in a constructive way to get it out. You play out the energy, you match it and you beat it to understand that it's not that big of a deal, right? Why do you think we are attracted to big characters like Gordon Ramsay, for example? Why do millions of people flock to watch Kitchen Nightmares, where you watch him get pissed off, and yet we're inspired and drawn to it like moths to a flame? Because we find it on some level inspiring, and people wish that they could give themselves permission, and Gordon has given them permission to be a bit pissed off sometimes, and it's okay to do so. So I started to get angry. When I was in my 20s, I was angry for a good few years. Someone would try to demean me, or they would get frustrated, I'd give it right back. And you know, I had it out with my dad. I called him this and that. I was cold as ice. And I went cold and angry for a while. But it did teach me and free me of one thing. I'm not afraid of anger. So I'm not afraid of some big angry boss shouting at me, or big angry policeman, or whatever authority figure we externalize. And then B, it stopped me from people pleasing. I didn't get angry about always giving my power away to try and please mummy and daddy. Because mummy and daddy are just two humans within billions of other humans. And you got to get used to, let's say, confronting your past and confronting your parents to move past that anger phase and take your power back. You know, because there are people out there, and maybe you're one of them, that spend their whole life still getting humiliated and belittled by their mum and dad. You know, maybe the girls, it's more the mum, the dad, it's more the boys, who knows, but still getting belittled till the day they die by their parents. And for me, from my personal observation and from my own personal experience, because that's where the deepest wound is. That's where the real festering anger lies, because they were the most prominent characters that put it on you and, you know, quote unquote abused you in a sense. They did their best, but they abused you and put you down because they were put down. Again, no one's to blame. It's just default. It's no one's fault. That was a great teacher who told me that. It's no one's fault. It's default. But they put you down, and that's in your memory banks. You're pissed off. So anyone who reminds you of your mum and dad, you either become a people pleaser or you get pissed off inside, and maybe you don't express it. But once you start getting it all out, releasing all that trauma, getting angry, that people pleasing aspect will drop away. And you'll realize, and this was a big one for me, and let me take a little sip of my tea. Lovely. This was a big one for me. And it was, I couldn't believe that life still functioned and I could still operate without people pleasing, without always putting exclamation marks or happy faces at the end of sentences on WhatsApps or Facebook messages. I couldn't believe it. I was like, hang on. I'm allowed to be quote unquote cold. Use that word for a second to get back to that. Quote unquote cold. And life goes on. In fact, I'm actually gaining more success in my life, and I'm way happier because I'm no longer trying to people please and try to get a reaction or calm someone down outside of me, because I feel calm, again, because I've been through all that abuse and trauma and anger, and I've dealt with it. So that was a big thing for me. And it will feel weird. If you grew up as a people pleaser, you will start to feel weird when you go back to being neutral. Now, you don't want to go mean, because as you may have noticed, people pleasers, particularly in romantic relationships, will attract people who are mean and super selfish, right? So you don't want to go there. But when you, let's say, deal with that people pleasing energy, deal with that anger, and you come back to neutral, and you're no longer afraid of conflict, which is a big one with people pleasing anger. You're no longer afraid of conflict. You just say things as they are, And you don't need to prove that you're a good person because you already know you're a good person. You already know you are, right? Things will change. You will feel more calm, more settled, more empowered, more mature, more of an adult. And you'll have more fun. You'll walk around in this world a bit more fearless. No longer trying to save people, because people don't need saving. You can help, but you shouldn't pity people, at least from my experience. Do what you want, of course. I might be completely wrong, but people don't need saving. And you can just be yourself. And it's an amazing feeling. So that's it, guys. I mean, that's what I really wanted to share. Let go of the people pleasing if you can. Look to see why are you doing it. And if you're going over to Sunday for a spit roast with your mum and dad, that came out a bit wrong, but I know some mum and dads like barbecues, but that did come out wrong and I deeply apologise. But if you're going over for Sunday roast, if you're here in the UK, and your mum and dad say something, a repeated pattern, and they're still expecting you to behave like the 5-year-old or the 10-year-old they once knew you were, give it back to them. Be yourself. If they say something that's derogative or demeaning of your character, call it out, right? And you'll be surprised at their reactions. And you'll be surprised at people's reactions in general, how people apologize for their behavior. But sometimes it requires a dragon or a lion or a beast or a human being to say, no, don't treat me like that. I've got dignity. Please treat me with respect. Otherwise, I don't know if we can keep communicating. That's self-awareness. And if they take it well and they go, I'm sorry, and they open up and they start to tell you why they do what they do, then there you go. You're now healing your whole entire family. And what a gift that is, to see your family, your ancestral line, whatever you want to call it, healed. That's the most beautiful thing. One of the most beautiful things you can probably ever experience. To shine your light upon your family and give them the opportunity to awaken and fall more in love with themselves. But if they go fuck you and start reacting and blah blah blah, then you can see the upset child in them and you know where you're at in relation to them. And then it's entirely up to you as the adult to do what you want to do. You keep communicating, maybe have a little bit of distance, this and that. And if you feel that dependency on them, towards them, then again, that's another thing, another gift realized within you for you to work on, because you don't need your parents' love. Some people lost their parents before or just after they were born, and they're doing perfectly fine. So know why it would be an amazing thing to see your mum and dad wake up. If I saw my mum and dad become more jovial, more awakened, more laughing, more giggling, being earnest but also having a great sense of humor and just feeling more empowered and radical and fun and more loosey-goosey, then that would be a joy to me and would make me tear up. But I'm not going to wait on it, and you guys don't need to wait on it either. You have a life to live, and we're only here for so long. It doesn't matter if you live for 50 years, 100 years, 200 years. It will eventually go in a blink of an eye. So empower yourself, take your power back, say no when you want to say no, and get used to saying no when you want to say no. Because along the path of healing your people-pleasing mentality, not only is it about reducing all those exclamation marks and smiley faces and kisses at the end of your messages, it's also saying no sometimes. Letting things be. Not responding because someone else is in a panic and you have to fix them because you don't want to be shouted at. You're allowed to let that go. Come more into a state of balance, self-empowerment, and remind people that they can also do the same. And that's parents included. Alright guys, so again, this was a good old ramble on people pleasing and self-love and letting go of that guilt. And it does take a little while to get rid of that guilt, and it will feel a little weird and you will feel a little guilty for a while when you're no longer feeling it. But trust me, give it a little bit of time and you'll start to become more of a professional human being, more of a clean human being, more of a loving, mature human being who is simply kind in nature, good in nature, but doesn't need to prove it to anyone. Okay, so I love you guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Ta-ra.